Do you feel that the more you try to keep someone close, the more distant that person seems to become? There is a silent pain you carry without being able to explain it. You are always available, always trying, always proving your worth. But for some reason, it never seems to be enough. You send a message and wait anxiously for a reply. When it takes too long, your mind creates 1,000 scenarios. You ask yourself what you did wrong, what you could have said differently, why you are not a priority. You feel as if you are screaming for attention, but no one hears you. And the worst part, you do all of this in silence, with a smile on your face, pretending that everything is fine. This pattern has a name. It is not weakness. It is not pathological neediness. It is not bad luck in relationships. It is an invisible emotional cycle that operates behind the scenes of your consciousness. It is the constant search for validation through the presence of another person. It is turning every interaction into proof that you matter. It is measuring your worth by the speed of a reply, by the time someone dedicates to you, by the intensity of the interest they show. And this is silently destroying your relationships one by one, without you realizing the real reason. Because the problem is not the people you choose. The problem is the place from which you relate. And that place needs to change. This behavior did not come out of nowhere. It has a deep root in the way you learn to interpret love and personal value. From a very early age, many people build their emotional self-image through the eyes of others. As a child, you learned that your worth was conditioned on approval, affection, and the presence of those who took care of you. If that approval was inconsistent, if affection came with conditions, if presence was unpredictable, something inside you registered a dangerous message. I'm only important if someone chooses me, constantly. This belief turns into an emotional wound that you carry into adulthood. And in relationships, it manifests as hypervigilance. You monitor every sign of disinterest. You interpret silence as rejection. You compensate for any distance with more effort, more presence, more giving. Your brain learned to interpret emotional distance as real danger. And when danger is detected, you act. This is not classic emotional dependency. It is an anxious attachment structure that seeks certainty through constant proximity. You are not trying to control the other person, you are trying to control your own anxiety. The problem is that the strategy does not work. The more you seek security through constant presence, the more unstable you feel. Because true peace can never come from the outside. And until you understand this, you will repeat the same pattern in every new relationship. Your nervous system is programmed to seek external validation as a way to calm internal storms. And this makes you turn love into anxiety, connection into pressure, genuine interest into desperate need. The behavior that keeps you trapped in this cycle is subtle, but devastating. You turn relationships into constant tests of your personal worth. Every interaction becomes a silent exam. Did he reply quickly? Did she show enough interest? Does this mean I am important? You hand over control of your emotional stability to the reactions of the other person. And when you act from this place, your behaviors stop being genuine. Everything becomes strategic. You calculate messages, you stay available beyond your limits, you agree to things that make you uncomfortable. You are afraid to set boundaries because you believe it might push the person away. You do not act based on what you feel, but on what you think will guarantee the other person's permanence. And this creates a completely unbalanced dynamic. There is no space for real reciprocity when one side is constantly compensating, proving, trying to earn their place. The other person feels the pressure, even if unconsciously. They feel that there is an invisible emotional demand in every gesture. And slowly they begin to pull away. Not because they do not like you, but because the relationship demands a constant emotional intensity that is impossible to sustain. The fundamental mistake is here. You believe you need to repeatedly earn the right to be loved. So you act as if you are always on the verge of losing something, and when you act this way, you subconsciously communicate that you do not believe in your own value. People tend to believe the message you send about yourself. If you act like someone who needs to prove they deserve to be there, that is exactly how you will be treated. Change begins when you understand a fundamental truth. Healthy relationships are not built through constant proofs of interest. They are built through your ability to exist fully, even in the absence of the other. Your value is not up for negotiation with every interaction. You do not need to re-earn the right to be valued every day. When you act as if you need to prove something, you are sending a clear message: I do not believe I am enough. And the people around you absorb this message, even without realizing it. True emotional security does not come from being absolutely certain of the other person's feelings every second. It comes from being certain of your own value, regardless of external responses. This does not mean becoming cold, distant, or indifferent. It means recognizing that a balanced relationship allows absence without anxiety, silence without catastrophic interpretation, space without threat. The shift happens when you stop treating love as something that needs to be conquered and reconquered endlessly. When you understand that if someone needs to be constantly convinced of your value, that person is not truly seeing you, and maybe never will. The problem was never that you were not enough. The problem was believing that you needed to constantly prove that you were. That belief placed you in a game that is impossible to win, because no matter how much effort you make, you will never feel like it is enough. Real change begins when you decide to stop playing. An emotionally mature person acts completely differently in the same situation. They maintain stable emotional presence, regardless of the other person's fluctuations. When they do not receive an immediate response, they do not spiral into anxiety. They do not create narratives of rejection in their mind. They simply continue living, trusting that temporary silence does not define the relationship. They understand that people have different rhythms, their own lives, internal moments that have nothing to do with them. This person sets clear boundaries without guilt. They know that saying no or needing space does not threaten genuine connections. They communicate needs directly, without emotional manipulation or hidden expectations. They do not treat every conversation as an opportunity to secure safety, but as a genuine exchange of presence. They understand that relationships breathe. They have natural rhythms of closeness and distance that do not need to be interpreted as problems. When they miss the other person, they acknowledge the feeling without turning it into urgency for contact. They offer presence without pressure, affection without conditions, interest without dependency. This is not coldness, it is not detachment, it is emotional maturity. It is the ability to be present without needing the other to fill internal voids. It is being able to love without needing constant reassurance that you are loved. It is having enough space within yourself so that the relationship becomes a choice, not a necessity. This behavior naturally attracts reciprocity because it does not pressure, it does not suffocate, it does not demand. It creates a space where the other can show up genuinely, without feeling tested or measured in every interaction. And in that space, real love can happen. Not the anxious love you once knew, but something much deeper, steadier, and truer. When you stop repeating this pattern, everything changes. You experience more mental clarity, because you are no longer constantly analyzing signals, interpreting silence, creating theories about what every word means. Your mind finally rests. You feel less anxiety, because your peace no longer depends on the other person's immediate actions. Your emotional stability comes from within, not from outside. Your relationships become more balanced. There is real space for reciprocity. People do not feel that they need to meet an invisible expectation. They show up because they want to, not because they feel obligated. You gain more respect, both for yourself and from the people around you. Because you are no longer negotiating your value, you simply are. And that is powerful. The right people stay naturally, not because you worked hard to keep them, but because they feel freedom in the connection with you. And you finally experience bonds where you do not need to struggle to exist, you simply exist. And what if the love you are looking for can only reach you when you stop chasing it through the constant approval of others? This channel exists for the conversations no one has, but everyone needs. If this video touched something real in you, continue this journey of emotional self-knowledge here.